Hello, everybody. I'm back to talk to you more about the kinematic model. Let's say you're feeling really stuck and you're just like, I don't even know how to begin. So let's talk about a model you might build for the puncture. So one question you've got to ask is, how many E. coli were deposited? Can you know? Can you not know? Does it matter? That's a criteria that you have to decide. Do I have to know for my model to be effective how many bacteria I started with? Then you need to ask yourself how fast they multiply. We've already talked about that, right? Probably about every 30 minutes in a media or food-rich environment. And our bodies are pretty food-rich if bacteria get past our skin, which is pretty good armor to protect us. So let's imagine that you set things up like the following. You said, okay, I have a puncture. It is some amount deep. And my E. coli were deposited most of the way down that puncture. And neutrophils started off up at the skin. Well, the E. coli, as they're deposited, they don't have to swim very far to reach the bottom of the wound. And maybe they don't swim at all. Maybe they say, hey, wherever I am is good enough. Again, you want to try to decide how important this is to your model. And so here's my time axis. And so the idea is the E. coli get deposited here. They swim into the bottom of the puncture. And then they stop moving because they've got what they want. And they are now just doubling. Right? And so you have to ask yourself, how long have these E. coli been sitting here? Have they gotten to double? What does infection look like? Well, the neutrophils, you might say, hey, maybe these start up at the skin. Maybe they arrive from the blood. And they now have to swim down that puncture to get to that point. Right? If you think about it, you don't really worry about getting infections deep inside of your body as a everyday concern, right? Your skin is meant to protect you from that. So neutrophils probably aren't hanging out deep inside. Now, how deep is that puncture? Again, that's something you're going to figure out. Maybe your model will say for punctures of the order of 3 millimeters up to 1 centimeter, which that's a pretty deep puncture, 1 centimeter. This would be the time that I need to worry about. Okay, and so the question really is, have these E. coli had time to double by the time the neutrophils arrive? And how many doublings have they done? And what's the concern there is once those E. coli start doubling, it goes pretty quick, right? If this takes 5 hours for the neutrophils to arrive, well, then you've got a lot of doubling happening and you probably need antibiotics. But again, this is going to be the argument that you come up with. This is the model that you're going to come up with as you try to make this conversation happen. Okay? If you're stuck, I hope this has helped you a little bit on this. The same sort of ideas apply for the open scrape, except there you're not doing as much kinematics. You're really worrying more about the size of the scrape, how much bacterium has been introduced, because you might, if you've got a really big scrape, you're now going to be allowing a lot more bacteria in there, and you may not be allowing the same number of neutrophils to get in there. So I'm going to concede this is a tricky assignment. There's so many unknowns. Embrace that. Embrace the fact that you don't know what's going on. Dive into it as much as you can and really make the best argument. Now, I don't expect anyone to make a single slide on the first day. The first day is really just drawing cartoons and wrapping your mind around what you're doing. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now.